Ed Grimsley has been seeing battles between unknown craft in the night sky since he was a teenager. And since then, he has continued seeing what appear to be delta-shaped and saucer-shaped craft in space, shooting it out using what appears to be laser weapons. He has seen hundreds of these objects recently using his 5 military-grade night vision binoculars. He has invited many people, including myself and producer Tom Danheiser, to come to these various areas to view the objects in Earth space shooting it out. I have witnessed 2 of them. Using the night vision glasses, even skeptics who thought that he might have been seeing things have now been convinced that Ed Grimsley is seeing something very unusual. In a moment on Coast to Coast AM, Ed Grimsley, UFO Wars on Coast to Coast AM. What you're about to hear tonight could very well be one of the most riveting stories you have heard in a very long time. Ed Grimsley sees battles between unidentified flying objects in the skies using his military-grade night vision binoculars. Ed says the craft seem to be fighting with the use of laser weapons. Many skeptics who believed Ed was merely seeing things are becoming believers after spending time viewing the skies with Ed. He's with us for a full program tonight on Coast to Coast, Ed Grimsley. Ed, how are you?
Oh, pretty good, George.
Good, and I wanted to thank you for coming on the program at this late notice, too, Ed. I really appreciate it.
It's my honor. I have a lot of respect for your show, and it does things that is trying to get the truth out to the people, and it's all about the truth.
I'm going to tell you a story, Ed. I'm going to tell you a story about you. Over the years, you and I have run into each other at conferences all around the country. And, I didn't know who you were, really, other than you were Ed Grimsley, and there was a guy who had a bag full of binoculars. And
yeah, I was the bag guy.
Yeah, and Tom and I would go out, and we'd have our lunches and dinners. We'd run into Ed Grimsley. You were at every conference. You were always there. You're devoted into this field. And, so I started asking around, and I'm saying, who's this guy? He's a nice guy, but what does he do? And then one night at a meet and greet, you stood up, and you said, I've got these night vision goggles, and I have been watching UFOs fighting in the skies. And I went to myself, whoa, I got to hear a little bit more about this guy. And the more we talked over the various conferences that we would meet at, the more I really was interested in seeing this. So finally, last year, we had an opportunity to run into each other at a conference, and you were holding one of your events on the top of a hotel, and somebody came down and said, Mr. Grimsley would like you to see what they're all looking at up here. And I said, all right, now's my time. Now, keep in mind, I've never seen a UFO ever in my life until that night. And then we went upstairs, and you had a couple night vision goggles in the 3rd generation, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And, you showed me what to look at in the night sky. And this for folks who look into the sky, you can see some stars, especially if you live in a city. You'll see more if you live in the country. But I've got to tell you, when you look at the night sky with night vision goggles, you see more stars than you can ever imagine or count. And what Ed then did is something truly remarkable. He said, George, you got to look in this area. And so I did. And keep in mind, you've got these binoculars that are looking into the night sky, and everything is green, right? You've seen pictures of these. And all of a sudden, I start seeing some objects moving. Not satellites, because satellites go from one direction to the next. They don't change direction. They don't zigzag. I saw an object zigzag, and then I saw another one zigzag. And Ed, you were as cool as anybody's ever been. You said, told you so. But people who were up there were absolutely taken back. What's going on up there, Ed?
Well, I believe that this activity has been going on probably since the Earth was built. Maybe they've been there for a long time. They may even be part of our creation or part of the tools that keeps us running. There's definitely got to be a good side and a bad side, so I don't know if it's good against evil. I don't know if it's God against Satan or whatever, but there is definitely some flying against each other out there, and there's a numerous type of crafts, and these are real. They're not something that gets made up and hung on a string and then photographed. I mean, because these things are doing thousands of miles an hour across the sky.
And how high up do you think they are at? Because, that was a big discussion that night. We were trying to figure out how high these objects were. What did you estimate at that time?
Well, I estimated that the one that I showed you with a laser that was flying along, and you asked, is it a satellite? And I said, no, because it keeps changing its speed and its course.
Right.
And I said, look, it's slowing up. Good, it's going to stop. And then you said, where'd it go? And I pointed the laser and said, there it is, right there. And you said, is that a star? And I said, no, it's faking to be a star. But watch it, keep an eye, and I marked 2 stars with the laser near it.
Yeah.
And I said, there it is, right down between that. And you remember this because it'll take off and leave, and when it does, then you're going to realize it and probably watch it go. But you had handed the glasses off to Tommy or somebody else, and by the time I looked at it again and it's checked, it started to leave, and I said, here, it's leaving. And you didn't get the glasses back in time to see the actual leaving of it. But when you did look, I marked the 2 stars for you again, and it was gone. And that activity, that happens all the time. There is all kinds of things out there that pull up and stop, or they'll start out from nowhere and start moving.
Are we thinking, 50 miles up, 100 miles up?
No,
200?
that would be out in space, that one. And I would say that from just experience of watching them, I'm going to guess it was about 200 miles.
200 miles. Now, what... I know some of these questions are speculative for you, but...
that's true, but you could stand on the freeway and watch cars go by, and you could say, how fast is that one going?
Absolutely. Okay,
so what kind is that one?
So up you estimate...
You've got to use judgment.
Absolutely. How big do you think those 2 objects were that I was looking at?
Well, the objects that you looked at, I believe, were Delta, but, at that time I had handed my glasses off, and then you saw and said, there it is, there. And when I got the glasses back, I could see the ghost-like disappearance of it.
Yeah.
And I'm going to say that it resembled what I call deltas, that look something like a Concorde-type jet with one fin stabilizer up there and can just haul thousands of miles an hour. And I believe that they was probably between 80 and 100 miles up, because I think they function their best right at the edge of the atmosphere and space. And when you see one of those, if you see it on one side of the sky and follow it quickly, it'll zigzag and pass and maneuver and be gone in 5 to 7 seconds.
Yeah, I had never seen anything move that fast. And these weren't meteorites, by the way. I mean, this meteorites just go whoosh, and they're gone.
Yeah, and they light up and give you a good appearance.
These things went at a nice fast clip, and then they made a 90-degree turn, then they came back, then they stopped, then they went again. I don't know what they are, Ed, whether they're man-made or ETs or what. But I'm telling you, there was something going on up there. There's craft going on.
What they were was definitely your opportunity to realize that we're not alone.
No. Now,
and whoever's got those is sharing that technology.
Absolutely. Let's talk a little bit about the technology that you use and explain that laser that you were holding up that you used to help point out where this little star, which became an object, was up there for us. You've got a laser that you take with you. What do you use that for, and how?
I had been buying these cheap lasers for $8-10 at gas stations and things that are red, and they will show up, but only if somebody's standing pretty close to you, and they're hard to see with naked eye, but with the glasses you can see them better. And I've been buying those, and it's just a simple way of pointing out what you're looking at.
I'm kind of like